My friend, listen closely. There are moments in life when we walk through deserts, when the sun is too fierce, the night too long, and the wounds too deep. The world will tell you to ignore them, to hide them, to numb them. But the wounds of your life are not the end of your story. They are the ink with which the author of your destiny writes his greatest chapters. Tonight, I speak to the broken, to the weary, to the one who carries wounds not on the skin, but in the soul. There is a message from the heart of God. Your wounds are not a curse, they are a calling. In the stillness of the night, Jacob found himself alone. The camp had been divided, his family sent ahead, and he stood at the banks of the Jabbok River, a place of crossing, a place of crisis. It was there in the darkness that he encountered the divine in the form of a man. They wrestled through the long night. This was no ordinary fight. This was spiritual, intimate, holy. Jacob wasn't just struggling with a man. He was wrestling with God himself. Why did the Almighty come to him in this way? Why not a dream, a vision, a gentle whisper? Because there are some transformations that only come through wrestling. There are encounters with God that only happen when everything else is stripped away. When you are alone with your fear, your past, your regrets. When there's no more mask to wear, no more pretending, no more escaping. And in that vulnerability, the encounter comes, but Jacob was not left unmarked. As the dawn broke, the heavenly wrestler touched his hip, dislocating it, a wound, a limp, a mark that would stay with him for the rest of his life. Jacob would never walk the same again. But here is the mystery. It was in that wound that he was given his blessing. It was in that struggle that he received his new name, Israel, the one who wrestles with God and prevails. We often pray for blessings and think they will come through comfort, through ease, through favor. But sometimes the greatest blessings come wrapped in the deepest wounds. The wound is not a sign of divine absence. It may be the very evidence of God's hand upon your life. For the wound is not just a pain, it's a place, a holy place, a place of encounter. Some of the most powerful moments in your life, moments of clarity, of calling, of divine nearness, come not on the mountaintops, but in the valleys. Not when everything is going well, but when you are pressed, crushed, broken. When you are wrestling with the fear that your past disqualifies you. When you are face to face with your weakness, your failure, your loneliness. It is there that the God of Jacob meets you, and from that place you do not leave the same. You may limp for the rest of your days, but you will walk with destiny. The wound does not disqualify you. It sets you apart. It becomes a sacred reminder that you met God in the night, that you held on and would not let go, that He touched you and changed your name. So don't despise the place of pain. Don't curse the struggle. Don't run from the wound, for it may be the very altar where heaven reached down and rewrote your story. What the world sees as broken, God sees as blessed. What you call a wound, He may call a well out of which will flow rivers of purpose and power. The wound is the place of encounter, the limp is the mark of your blessing, and the night you feared would break you may be the night that made you. There is something sacred about a scar. It is not fresh like a wound, nor hidden like a bruise. It is visible, undeniable, a mark that says, I've been through something, but I've come out the other side. A scar tells a story. It speaks of pain, yes, but also of healing, of a process endured, of a battle survived. It is not the sign of defeat. It is the evidence of endurance. When the risen Christ appeared to His disciples, He did not come cloaked in celestial robes with His wounds erased. He came with scars. He could have appeared in any form He wished. The glorified body of the Son of God could have been flawless, but instead He chose to bear the marks of the nails, the wound in His side. Why? Because the scars were His testimony. They were not just remnants of suffering. They were seals of His love, His sacrifice, His victory. When Thomas doubted, Jesus did not rebuke him for his disbelief. Instead, He said, "Look at my hands, touch my side." He invited Thomas to see the proof that death had come for him and failed, the proof that he had walked through agony and overcome, and so it is with you. You have scars, some visible, some hidden deep beneath the surface, wounds from betrayal, from heartbreak, from failure, from grief. And maybe you've tried to cover them to pretend they're not there, but I tell you today, those scars are not a source of shame. They are seals, seals that say, I was not destroyed, I was not forsaken, I made it through. In the ancient world, a seal was used to validate a document, to show ownership, to prove authenticity. In the same way, your scars can be the validation of who you are in God, not as one who has lived a painless life, but as one who has been refined by fire and still stands. Your scars are not random. They are part of your calling. They are the very things that connect you to others in their pain. How will the broken believe they can be whole if no one ever shows them a healed scar? How will the addicted believe they can be free if no one ever testifies with the seal of what they've survived? Your scars can be someone else's salvation. There is power in your story, not the polished version, the real one. The one with the tears, the cracks, the wounds that turn to scars. When you surrender your pain to God, He does not erase it. He redeems it. He does not pretend it never happened. He transforms it. And that which the enemy meant for harm, God uses as a mark of authority, a mark of identity, a mark of divine purpose. So do not hide your scars. Do not be ashamed of them, for they are not the signs of defeat. They are the seals of your victory. They are reminders of what you've come through and of the one who brought you through. Let the scars speak. Let them proclaim that healing is possible, that redemption is real, and that grace does not erase our past. It transforms it into something holy, something eternal, something worth showing the world. You are not less because you bear scars. You are more, because you bear them with faith, with strength, and with the seal of the one who was wounded for you and rose in glory. There is a mystery woven into the fabric of divine purpose, one that the world cannot comprehend, one that the enemy cannot undo. It is this: the healing you receive is not just for you. The freedom you fight for is not meant to stop with your deliverance. The restoration God brings into your life carries within it the seeds of someone else's breakthrough. Look at the cross, the most horrific act in history. Torture, bloodshed, humiliation was also the most redemptive. By His wounds we are healed. Not He was wounded and then healed Himself. No, His wounds became our healing. His death became our life. His suffering became the path to our salvation. This is the divine pattern. Out of your greatest pain can come your greatest ministry. God doesn't just heal you to make you whole. He heals you to make you a vessel, a testimony, a carrier of compassion. What you conquer, you now have the authority to lead others through. The pit you were pulled out of becomes the map you hand to someone else still inside it. Some of the most powerful ministers of hope are not those who have had perfect lives, but those who have been shattered and put back together by grace. A former addict can speak to the addicted with a fire no textbook can teach. A survivor of abuse can speak life into the broken-hearted with an authority no sermon can fake. A person who has faced the darkness of depression or the valley of grief and has found light again becomes a beacon to those still wandering in the shadows. So do not despise your story. Do not hide the chapters you wish had never been written, because somewhere someone is waiting to hear exactly what you've lived through. Somewhere someone is bound by chains you once wore, and your freedom can be their key. This is why healing matters so much, not just for your peace, not just for your joy, but for your calling. The enemy fears a healed believer, not only because they are whole, but because they become dangerous. They become a testimony, They become a walking contradiction to the lies of hell. They become living proof that God still restores, still delivers, still breathes life into dry bones. Your healing is holy ground. It is not a finish line. It is a beginning. It is the launch pad of your mission, the place where your pain is transformed into purpose, where your past is repurposed for someone else's future. You may not feel ready. You may still have days when the memory stings, when the scar aches. But even then, even in the unfinished, in the in process, God uses you, because ministry does not require perfection. It requires surrender. It requires willingness. It requires the courage to say, I've been there, and I know the one who brought me out. So don't wait until you feel flawless. Don't wait until every question is answered or every fear is gone. Step out with what you have. Speak from the healing you've received. Love from the mercy you've known. Stand on the grace that held you when nothing else could. Your healing is not only your own, it is someone else's lifeline, someone else's roadmap, someone else's hope. And when you let God use what you thought was too broken, too shameful, too painful, you become the living, breathing proof of His redemption. You become the voice that says, freedom is real, healing is possible, and if He did it for me, He can do it for you. And in that moment, your healing births a miracle far beyond yourself. It births someone else's freedom. So I say to you, don't run from the wound. Bring it to the healer. Don't bury the scar. Let it shine with redemption. Don't waste the pain. Let it become purpose. You are not disqualified because of your wounds. You are called through them. You are not broken beyond use. You are being reshaped for glory, for the God who touched Jacob, the Christ who showed his scars, the Spirit who binds the broken-hearted, is here. So rise, limp if you must, scarred as you are, but rise, and let the world see what grace can do with a wounded life that refuses to give up. Amen.